do you think of Vladimir Putin?
Oh, the guy from Russia?
Yeah.
A man's a barracuda.
Rides horses, goes shooting and stuff. I think he's all right.
They say he managed to swing the US election.
We have bigger fish to fry
Than the Russia situation.
than the Russian situation.
You know, the US and Russia were enemies, but that seems to be changing.
I hope so. I hope so.
Trump's America, where Vladimir Putin's popularity is on the rise. To find out why, I've come to Alabama, which is in the midst of a Senate special election. My first stop, a Republican fundraiser where all the talk was about the race to replace Trump's Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. But I wanted to talk about Russia.
Putin's favorability ratings have tripled among Republicans. Does that concern you?
It does, because he should not be popular with anybody in the United States. Russia's a huge threat to us. They did try to meddle in our elections. They were not successful, but they tried to. The mere fact they tried to bothers me a lot.
That's the line from the Republican establishment, which has forced Trump to grudgingly sign a bill imposing new sanctions on Russia. But the rank and file view things differently.
What do you think of the Russia investigation?
I think it's a lot of baloney. It's something to take the public eye from the real issues, from what he wants to do for this country.
I don't understand what the big deal is about Russia. My God, we need to be friends with them.
Do you think he's a strong leader, President Putin?
I do, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's a strong leader.
What do you think Ronald Reagan would think about the proximity between the Russians and the US right now?
He wouldn't like it at all.
Why not?
Because he's probably the best president we ever had.
He'll be turning in his grave right now, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. What he would do is he'd go in the Oval Office and set Trump down. He'd tell Trump, shut up.
This isn't just any Republican event, this is a veterans event. You know, not that long ago, people at places like this would have been full of venom for Russia. It was the enemy. It's amazing how quick politics changes.
Republicans who are warming to Putin could be taking their lead from Trump, an admirer of the Russian leader. But part of the explanation may also lie in Russia, where Putin has rebranded himself as a traditionalist, railing against moral decay in the West. His hardline stance against gay rights has been praised by some American evangelicals, including the Christian leader who led the prayer at Trump's inauguration.
In Jesus' name, amen.
Sunday at the Romar Baptist Church. My chance to test the water with evangelicals.
Would you not want someone who is a better example to Christians than the current president?
I would want Jesus Christ. Seriously.
You can't have him.
I know.
Surely Donald Trump isn't second best to Jesus Christ. There are many more people who would be a more suitable surrogate.
They were not in the position to win.
If you think about the legislation that was passed to prohibit, as it was put, kind of propaganda for gay rights and homosexuality in schools, that was passed in Russia. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder what Christians of faith in this country think about the shift happening there as opposed to here.
Obviously, I can't speak for all Christians. I think that public schools should not be about social engineering. They should not be about creating or changing the culture.
That's the same critique that Vladimir Putin says. He says that Western society has lost its attachment to traditional Christian values.
He's fairly closely aligned, in my understanding, with the Russian Orthodox Church, and I have nothing against my brothers over there.
Evangelicals like Pastor Gardner explain why the Republican candidate leading the Senate race is this man. I found Roy Moore at a closed-door gathering of black and white pastors, united in their opposition to gay marriage.
Why do you think our children are growing up like they are? Because we've lost the most important thing I want to talk about in my political travels: morality. That's right. Yeah. Do you know separation of church and state would not exist without God? Every ordinance of God. Government is an ordinance of God. The church is an ordinance of God. The family is an ordinance of God. Their jurisdictions. And above them all is, guess what? God.
Moore rose to fame in 2001 when he was forced to step down as Alabama's Chief Justice for refusing to remove a monument to the 10 Commandments that he'd installed in the state courthouse.
That's the 10 Commandments. It's the oldest one you'll ever see.
So that's actually an original?
That's actually original.
Well, those 10 Commandments on your wall, how many of those do you think Trump has broken in his lifetime?
I don't know, you might have to ask him, but I wouldn't know.
Who?
God.
I'm not sure I have that channel of communication.
I don't think you do. I don't either, so I couldn't answer the question.
But there's thou shalt not commit adultery, and thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not covet.
How many commandments did David in the Bible break, you reckon? He put him king. So I think God knows the heart of men.
You have said that Donald Trump was put in the White House by God.
Everybody else thinks it's the Russians. I think it was the providential hand of God. I think it was by providence that he was placed there, yes.
You were, I assume, a supporter of Ronald Reagan in the 80s. What do you think he would think of the proximity between the US and Russian president right now?
You know, one thing I've learned in politics is not to think for somebody else. And to assess what Ronald Reagan would think, I just couldn't simply begin.
But he said that Russia was the focus of evil in the modern world.
You could say that very well about America, couldn't you?
Do you think?
Well, we promote a lot of bad things, you know.
Like?
Same-sex marriage.
That's the very argument that Vladimir Putin makes.
Well, then maybe Putin is right. Maybe he's more kin to me than I know.
What would you say to him?
Здравствуйте, как вы поживаете сегодня?
You'll have to translate.
Hello, how are you? I studied Russian at one time.
Did you really?
At the United States Military Academy at West Point. And that's about all I could say to him. Как вы поживаете?
My trip to Alabama has given me a glimpse into an intriguing political shift, an affinity between America's religious right and their comrades in Moscow. But I'm not the only person to make the connection.
Putin would be like the perfect Alabama candidate. He's macho, he can manhandle Obama, and he hates gays.
J.D. Crowe drew this cartoon 4 years ago. Now he's drawing the Senate candidates.
Who's the most aligned with Vladimir Putin?
In my cartoons, Roy Moore is. Roy Moore and Vladimir Putin, anti-gay soulmates. Roy Moore and him seem to be on the same page as far as gay rights, so I thought I'd put them together and let them do some nice little ice skating there. I'm Vladimir Putin and I approve this message. Sorry for the redneck Russian accent there, but yeah, that's about